We're joined by Netfa Freeman, member of the Black Alliance for Peace organization. Thank you for your time. Now, in recent days, the U.S. has withdrawn most of its remaining forces from Libya due to security concerns. Now, 8 years after the NATO intervention there, could this mean that the U.S. is pulling out of Libya for good?
I don't see that happening for good because the United States has to secure its interest there. Unfortunately, the propaganda is that originally when the NATO forces and the United States overthrew the Jamahiriya of Libya, that it was for altruistic reasons, and that was also when the dominant powers in the world came up with this responsibility to protect things. So right now, I don't see that happening because they have to secure their interests, and they can't secure it with this very divided and contentious situation.
Well, and there remain some troops. However, we don't know that exact number. We were just hearing that they are pulling some out. But how has the NATO intervention in 2011 led to the conditions that we're seeing now with Al-Qaeda and ISIS-affiliated groups really ready to topple the government? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's led to it because after the overthrow of the government of Gaddafi and the Jamahiriya, then the extremist groups were able to raid the armory which was very heavily armed in Libya, and so that also proliferated arms all across this region and across the continent of Africa. And then it also just became a much more fertile breeding ground for those elements, Islamic extremism in that sense, or those militant forces, which was not possible under the Gaddafi government, and then just so many other means of destabilizing things in terms of the social network that Libya contributed to that region was decimated. And so there was all kinds of support that the country was able to provide because of its stability in the region. It was just not internal to the country.
Well, and the stability is definitely what's lacking now. But we heard RT correspondent Murad Ghazdiev say that the winner will take one of the largest oil reserves in the world. It seems like oil seems to be pretty popular these days. Now, the oil markets are already on edge and facing spikes in pricing. Could this get worse? Could the situation could we get worse if Libya's situation worsens as far as oil prices and oil around the world?
Yeah, it would get worse, and I think what the counterintuitive aspect of it is that when the United States initially goes in, when they go into any place, and they often do this, they often are using operatives, people like Khalifa Haftar, who is a CIA operative and who wants power in Libya. And so when they do this, these interests are often not completely aligned with U.S. interests in dominating oil or the international corporations dominating oil. They want power internally too, and so they're not willing to abide by things like the agreement that the UN is saying that if there's election, they have to abide by the results and all those kind of things. These people want power and they don't care about elections, and so when those things come to the fore as the dominant, what those interests contending for power internal to the country, they don't always go along with what the international transnational corporations want in terms of the oil and being able to facilitate that.
Well, I'm sure this conflict is not over. Hopefully it doesn't get too far. I know the UN is calling for peace, and hopefully there will be a peaceful resolution, although I know there's not a lot of optimism right now. Member of the Black Alliance for Peace organization, Netfa Freeman, thank you for your time.
Thank you.